Hello, YouTube coin collectors and stackers. Today we're going to be talking about the absence of mint sets in the early 1980s, particularly in the years 1982 and 1983. And one of the reasons why in 1983 Philadelphia Washington quarter in high mint state can command sometimes thousands of dollars. So you see behind me here I have my Clad quarter album from 1965, which was the first year of the Clad quarter, and this one goes through 1987. And there's a hole here for my 1983, and if you look at it, it's in pretty bad condition. I'm about to tell you why. It's circulated, but there's other reasons why it looks so mushy. So the Mint was looking for ways to cut costs in the early 1980s, and one product that found itself on the chopping block in 1982 was the once popular Mint set. So these have been issued since 1947, and mint sets include, as you know, an example of each coin struck for circulation at each mint. So we have a set in here from Denver, and we have a set from Philly as well. So more than 2 million of these sets were sold each year from the late 70s through 1981. So then, when Reagan came in, they wanted to do some budget cutting, like they're talking about now, but they wanted to get the budget under control. And so they decided to cut these mint sets. So these go away. And in the absence of these mint sets, a number of private companies took up the challenge of supplying demand. And thus, for 1982 and 1983, you can find privately issued sets. The only other source of uncirculated mint set coins is something called souvenir sets. So if you were around in 1982 and you happened to go to the Mint, either Mint, Philadelphia, there's a Philadelphia souvenir set, or Denver, you could go ahead after your tour and stop by the gift shop and pick up one of these mint sets at the gift shop. And so this was a source of these uncirculated coins as well. So you have the Philly here for 1982 and the Denver and the Philly here for 1982. And so the souvenir set was designed to meet some demand for uncirculated coins for collectors. And it includes one example of a coin struck at the Mint. The problem with both souvenir sets and privately issued sets is that the coins included seldom match the quality of your typical uncirculated set. Worse, they're relatively scarce compared to, say, your normal mint set. So here's a set of 1982 for Philly and Denver. Here's your 1983s for Philly and Denver. And what I mean by scarce, just 15,000 souvenir sets were made in Philly in 1983, and only 20,000 were made in Denver, compared to 2.9 million mint sets in 1981. So that's a massive shrinkage in output. Back in those days, bags and rolls of 1983 Washington quarters, or just 1983 change in general, were scarcely saved by collectors and rarely so. Meaning that the only other obvious source of these coins was going to be these mint sets, these souvenir sets, and the privately issued mint sets. So collectors who are seeking high quality examples from these years face a particular challenge, and a specific challenge as it relates to the 1983 Philly quarter. So the quarters that were made in Philly that year tend to be heavily abraded, and production quality was low. This is possibly further indicative of all the cost cutting that was going on at that time. And worse, most coins are struck from late state, heavily fatigued dies that impart weak, mushy detail. And that would pretty much describe that coin. Weak, mushy detail. Of course, it's been circulated too, but you can just take a look and go, yeah, it's not very good. Widely known to be scarce, the 1983 Philly quarters are worth many times their value if you find them in good condition. And non-collectors are often surprised to discover that if you find a particularly nice uncirculated example of a 1983 Philly quarter, it can be worth hundreds of times its face value. Fewer than a dozen superb gem uncirculated MS-67 or better examples have been professionally certified, and these carry a price guide value in excess of $1,000 or more. So the move to drop the mint sets was timed in concert with the relaunch of the commemorative coinage program in 1982. So that would be, say, that Washington commemorative half dollar, for example. And they thought this would keep collectors placated for the time, but collectors wanted to have their uncirculated coin sets back, and they started to complain louder and louder and louder. And in the end of 1983, the mint reversed course, changed their policy, and began issuing mint sets once again, and they've done it every year since. So I thought this was interesting. I've gone out into the marketplace to find these, and I even have some other ones here that I can show you. These are from other years. So that's a 1979 Denver souvenir set, and this is a 1984 Philadelphia souvenir set. And why do I have these, and why aren't they in the packages? Well, in the hunt to get these guys, if you want them in the envelopes, sometimes you have to buy them from other years, because you can find these 82 and 83 souvenir sets like this, but oftentimes they don't come in the envelope as well. So I went and bought these. These other years are super cheap to get, $11, $12 for one of these. These guys on eBay can go for, the set of these, like all four of these in the envelope, is probably $250 for the set of all four. So these can get pretty pricey. And the reason, again, is there just aren't a lot of examples out there or sources to get these uncirculated coins from 1982 and 1983. Of course, after 1984, it's gazillions and billions of mint sets again. I have like a bunch of these. These are like $2, $3 each for these. You want to buy these guys can run you $40, $50 each, or more, depending upon whether they're in the envelopes. And you'll notice that if they're in the envelopes, they're worth a lot more than if they're just sort of in the cellophane packaging here. Well, I wanted to share that. I love these souvenir sets. I love the story behind these, and wanted to share that with everybody out there. Let me know in the comments below if this is something you are aware of, if you've had trouble finding good quality coins for the years 1982 and 1983. And thanks again, as always, for watching, and have a fantastic rest of your day.